When did you realize your family cared more about how things looked than how you felt? I was 16 when my parents kicked me out for talking back, but every December they'd text me to come home for the annual family Christmas card photo. I always showed up, not for them, but because I couldn't bear the thought of my 12-year-old brother Evan facing that perfect family charade alone. The argument that got me thrown out wasn't even that dramatic. Mom, Kathy, had been constantly criticizing my appearance. My hair was too dark, my clothes too casual, my makeup non-existent. That particular day in April, she made a comment about my homeless look in front of Evan's friends during a school pickup. I finally snapped and told her that maybe if she spent less time obsessing over how things looked, she might notice how miserable everyone in the house actually was. Dad came home from work to find Mom crying at the kitchen table. She told him I'd verbally attacked her. He didn't ask for my side. By evening, my belongings were in trash bags on the front lawn, and I was calling my friend Demi to see if I could crash at her place. I spent 3 weeks sleeping on Demi's couch before finding a part-time job at a convenience store and renting a room from her aunt. I finished high school while working nights and weekends. My parents never called to check if I was alive. Demi's mom bought me a cake for my 17th birthday. No one from my family acknowledged the day. The first few months, I kept expecting them to contact me, to ask me to come home. I checked my phone constantly, jumping whenever it buzzed. By summer, I'd stopped hoping. I deleted their contact information but kept the same number in case Evan needed to reach me. Until November rolled around. Mom texted with instructions for the annual Christmas card photo, telling me to wear the green sweater from last year and be there at 4 p.m. sharp. No, how are you? No, we miss you. Just instructions for the annual Christmas card photo that went out to 150 of their closest friends and relatives. I almost deleted the message, but then thought about Evan. He'd called me secretly a few times from his friend's phone, saying he missed me and things were tense at home. I showed up at 3:58 p.m. wearing the requested green sweater. Mom answered the door, looked me up and down, and commented that my hair needed brushing. No hug. No acknowledgement that I hadn't been home in 7 months. Dad nodded from across the room without making eye contact. Evan ran to hug me. You came, he whispered. The photographer arranged us on the staircase. Mom and Dad seated at the bottom, Evan and me standing behind them. 20 minutes of instructions to move closer together and smile bigger before it was over. Mom handed me a plate of leftovers from dinner I hadn't been invited to, and mentioned they'd mail me a card when they arrived. I was out the door by 5:30 p.m. No one asked where I was living or how I was surviving. This pattern continued for 3 years. Text in November with photo instructions. Show up, smile, leave, always for Evan's sake. He'd slip me notes during the photos, updates about school, things he couldn't say out loud. I kept every one of those notes in a box under my bed. During the second year, Mom complained that my hair was too short for the photos. The third year, she asked me to remove my nose ring before the photographer arrived. I complied each time, transforming back into their version of a daughter for exactly 90 minutes each December. The Christmas after I turned 19, Mom texted the usual instructions, but added that I could bring Tyson if I wanted. I'd mentioned my boyfriend once during the previous year's 4-minute visit. Somehow they'd remembered his name but forgotten to ask if I had a place to live or how I was paying for community college classes. I brought Tyson that year. Mom immediately loved him. He was pre-med, well-dressed, polite. She spoke more words to him during that photo session than she'd spoken to me in 3 years. Dad asked about his family, his studies, his plans. They invited us both to stay for dinner. Throughout the meal, they spoke about me in the third person. Mom told Tyson I was always so independent and that they knew I'd land on my feet when I decided to move out. Evan kicked me under the table, his eyes wide with disbelief. After dinner, Mom showed Tyson the previous year's Christmas cards, proudly displayed in an album. She boasted that they'd never missed a year and that family tradition was so important to them. The following Christmas, I arrived alone. Tyson and I had broken up by then. Mom seemed disappointed, asking where that nice boy was. Dad barely acknowledged me, but Evan, now 16, seemed different, angry, withdrawn. During a moment alone, he slipped me a note. They do this to me too now. Do what? I whispered. Pretend. After the photos, Mom invited the photographer to stay for dinner. They discussed the family photo tradition, how wonderful it was to have both children home each year. The photographer complimented them on having such a close family. Evan abruptly stood up and announced that I didn't actually live there. He told everyone they had kicked me out when I was 16, and that I only came for these photos because of him. Mom laughed nervously and said Evan had such an imagination. Dad changed the subject. The photographer looked uncomfortable. Later, Mom cornered me in the kitchen. She wanted to know what I had been telling him. I said I'd only told the truth. She insisted that I had chosen to leave and that they would never do what I was suggesting. When I reminded her that she had put my things in garbage bags, she shook her head, claiming that wasn't how she remembered it. That night, Evan texted me from his new phone that now he understood why I left.